Hello and good morning friends, welcome to the CEC-UGC live lecture. Dear friends, today in this session we would be talking on media relations in detail. We will be discussing on why for an organization maintaining relationships with the media is very important. Media relations, this concept is a very old, I would say, a long practice which has been practiced since past. So we would be going in details. We would be discussing the background of media relations when it was actually started, and it is practiced till today. It has become an important element to communicate with the publics inside and outside also. What are the practices involved while maintaining media relationships are the concepts we would be discussing today in today's session. And for this discussion we have once again with us in our studios Mrs. Nirmal Bhatnagar. Mrs. Nirmal Bhatnagar is a soft skill trainer. She is advisor to many organizations as well as she is a public relation consultant. So let's welcome our guest Mrs. Nirmal Bhatnagar and let's try to find out why maintaining relationship with the media is very important. Hello ma'am, welcome to today's lecture.
Well, today we are going to talk about media relations for public relations. Now, in public relations, importance of media is very much, and some people have even said that media and PR go hand in hand with each other. Why and how? See, in public relations, we have to project ourselves. We have to project our image. We have to project a person or a place or whatever we are working on PR. Now, how do we project? We need methodologies of projection, and these methodologies we find in media, because media reaches people from various angles to various corners and to all types of people. Now, if media is so important, then it is very necessary for PR people to know how do they go about media, how do they contact media, what all they are supposed to do. Well, before I start on these hows and whats, let me go back a little bit. If we go back to 70s and 80s, you would have seen that the major media was the print medium. Now in print medium, we found that limited number of newspapers were there, lot of writing work was required. We were to write reports and send to the press, or we were to communicate with them for print medium. But gradually in 90s, and we found a phenomenal growth of television coming in, that is audio-visual media. Now with television coming in, the media operations became bigger and bigger. Well, they didn't stop here, because media is an ever-moving thing. So in 20s and 21st, or at present, you can find that what we are finding out, that social media has taken into a big way into the world of information. So starting from press medium, adding on to audiovisual, that is television and cinema, and now getting on to social media. It's a big span a PR person has to cover to ensure that he or she is quite in touch with the people he or she desires to be in touch. Now, how do we get in touch with these people? First of all, there are methods like you can have one-to-one communication. That is, you can talk to the media people, you can communicate with them, you can call them over, you can discuss with them, you can give them information, and they can follow that information, prepare a news and give it. But you will find with distances, with media spreading the way I was telling you it has spread, it is not possible to keep calling media and have one-to-one talk with them. So then how do we go about it? Well, the other method was that we write something, the information that we desire, and send it by post or by mail or by, a person. But now it is easier because of the computers. You just put it on email and it reaches the media. But still, writing an information is not the only thing. How we write it, how much do we put into it, how long it should be, how much do we do is something where we have to specialize. News releases or news that we give to the press have to be comprehensive. What do I mean when I say comprehensive? They should have all the facts into them. They should not be very descriptive around. We don't have to beat about the bush. Give the exact story that you want to give, and give the story in its full form so that the media person can take out what he desires and puts it back into the media for the public grasp. Then we have other methods. We are going to talk about something more about this media world, that is your control on computers. How good you are at your computers has become essential for a PR person to keep finding out what is the news going, to know what is happening, and to counter that news or to give a new news. Unless you have a control on media, that is the latest media, that is the e-media or the cyber media or the computer, and you are all the time going on hooking into it, it becomes very difficult for a person to know exactly what is happening around. You don't expect that people keep ringing you up or people keep telling you, or you keep waiting for a news bulletin to come to you at an exact time and give you the news. Now, in this context, the first thing that I told you was that a PR person must be very alert, and being alert, the PR person must have a good command on computers, good command on sending messages, reading all about what is happening in the world, happening in the world of media, how media is projecting a certain type of thing, what is happening. Then we have the second thing, that a PR person must have full knowledge of various types of methods. The first method that we are going to discuss is direct meeting media. Now, how do we develop friendship or relations with media people? As a PR person, it is necessary that you are a social person. I told you in the last lecture, being little more interactive, good communication is one of the basic things a PR person requires to have. Now, with this sort of thing, to interact with the newspaper people, they should find you useful enough as a PR person to come to you, or you go and meet them, or meet them over a cup of tea or something and talk, discuss things with them, tell them your point of view, give them something which they are interested in, not all the time talk side talks or useless talk, because they have their own time, they have their own time limitations, and they would like to meet you only if you can feed them with something which is worthwhile. So the first thing is your hand on computers. The second thing is that your interaction and developing friendship with the press people. Earlier people used to say, oh, it's so easy to have friends with press people. You only have to wine and dine and they become your friends. It's absolutely, utterly a wrong idea. Press people do not have time to come and waste their energy on wining and dining alone. It might be once in a while, okay, or it might be a past story. But at the current sessions, the press people require people who are intelligent, who can talk, who can interact, and they only meet and sit with those people who can give them some sort of constructive information. Now, the third thing that I'm going to talk about is that the timing you should know, what time the press people are free, when can you contact them. Do not contact them at the peak hours when they are busy filing their stories or filing their newspaper hits. Contact them at the time when they are little free, so that they can fix up appointments with you and come and meet you, or you can go and meet them. Number of times we do not realize that by 4 o'clock in the evening, the newspaper is under making, and most of the press people are very busy working on the newspaper, sending reports, filing reports, and the material they have collected during the day needs to be filed at that time. But very unfortunate that many of us try to ring them by 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. That is the time when they are busy on their desk working on the reports, and then we find that they are not very friendly with us. So it is necessary for us to try to find out what is the best time to contact them, what is the best time to socialize with them, how do we interact with them. We should know, we should realize they are busy people and how much time they can devote to you, so not to waste their time. Now, another method is that you write a press release, whatever you want to tell the press. You cannot call them every time, they have no time, neither you have the time, and sometimes things are not so important that you have to call the press people at your office or talk to them. So what do? You prepare a press release, and in the press release you should know how to prepare one and send it across to them, and they are sure to take it if it is worthwhile. Do not expect that all the time that you write to them will be published in the newspaper. There are better news, there are important news. So if there is space available, definitely your story will be there. And if your story has news value, it's definitely going to come out on important pages. Then we come down to a very, very important section of press relations. That is called press conferences. We keep calling people when you want to give a news, when you want to give some information in a collective form, then we call a press conference. What is a press conference? Press conference is when we collect different types of media people and make them interact with our top officer or with our spokesperson, and he relates to them the correct happening, whatever has happened. Now, how do we call press conference? What are the different types of press conference? We are going to discuss each one of them right here, one after the other. The first press conference that I like to tell you is called the corridor press conference. Now, the word corridor is something which is an ancient word. Many people do not know about it, but yes, there is a press conference called corridor press conference. This is when we don't ask press to come, we haven't invited them, but in order to get news, they gather themselves in the corridors or they gather themselves around the important person to get some sort of news which they require to have. And this is where they keep waiting, and when somebody comes from inside or when they find somebody coming in and out, they ask questions. And through these questions, whatever little they gather, they make a news out of it. A very good example of corridor press conference is now, in the present time, is you must have seen that if you know there is a meeting going on in Prime Minister's house or a cabinet meeting going on and the press is not invited, they still gather around the place. And the moment somebody comes from inside and they keep running after what happened, what did they say, what was the news, they keep asking questions, and with little information that they gather out of these press conferences, they make a new story and develop a story which we see in the next day newspapers. Then we have a second type of press conference which we call short notice press conference. This short notice press conference can also be called emergency press conference. Now, what is an emergency press conference or a short notice press conference? This is when some matter needs to be conveyed and it is of very urgent nature and we cannot wait. It has to be conveyed to lots and lots of people together, maybe to the whole country, maybe to the nation, maybe to the world, but the matter is of very urgent nature. In this press conference, it is the matter which is very, very important, and we have to make sure that we do not call a emergency press conference unless their matter is real emergent type. Now, in this press conference, we do not follow many rules. We use the quickest methods of calling press. Now, what do you mean by quickest methods? Either you call them on telephone or email or on their SMS messages, whatever way possible, you just ring them up and tell them that here is a press conference, there's something urgent which the top man is going to announce, we request you to be present. And press people really know that if the matter is of great importance, you've called the press conference. The PR must know how important is the matter before calling an emergency press conference. Because in an emergency press conference, if we call the press and the matter is of routine nature, next time you can be very sure that none of the press people are ever going to be present in your office for a call that you give them, because they know probably you're not very serious about it. So make sure as a PR that you are confident that the subject matter which is going to be discussed or some announcement which is going to be made is of utter importance. And for this important message, you call the press people in a very urgent manner. No normal protocol is followed in this. In this press conference, we don't organize a proper tea, coffee or a snack or something for the press people. We do not have a lot of press releases organized or give a kit or give a packet of papers to the press people. Nothing. We just call them and we make sure that they leave at the earliest, because they themselves would love to leave at the earliest, because they would like to give the story as fast as possible. So, the emergency press conference, there are certain protocol which has to be maintained. Number one, you have to call people by the quickest possible method, and that is either by email or by their phone numbers or by their SMS or whatever urgent numbers you have for them. Now this calls for one thing, that the public relations person must maintain a list of emails, list of SMS, list of mobile numbers, list of other contact numbers of the concerned press people. Now when you call them, you can keep some water or tea or whatever you want on the side table, but do not insist on them, no, have a cup of tea before you go or something. Give them their time to just listen to the announcement. Now most of these urgent press conferences are to be called by the top man of the company. Generally, PR does not handle, he only organizes these short notice press conferences. It is the top man of the company, a senior man, a director or somebody responsible, who is responsible for the policy making. He addresses these press conferences, gives the message, gives the information, and is there to answer a few questions, and the press goes. The PR person must provide to the press people, if possible, transportation to go back if they desire one. Make sure that they have the means of communication available. If they want to use your computer, if they want to use your telephone, if they want to use your any other facility in the office, they should be allowed to use that, so that they are able to transport the news at the earliest to their offices. Now we come down to emergency press conference aftermaths. Now if you have any figure work to be given, then just prepare the figure work and hand over to the press. There is no need to prepare a press note for this sort of press conference, and there is no need for you to be extra courteous by trying to make social talking or things. The place for holding such press conference can be very personal also, like you can hold it in the room of the chairman or your managing director, or in a small hall that you have. There is no need to prepare a proper press room or a conference room to hold a press conference like this. Now, if I was to give you an example, suppose there was a war, or there was something like something happening in the public interest, like maybe there is a eclipse or something which can harm the people and you want to warn them. These are the type of things for which we call an emergency press conference, something where the public has to be informed urgently. Now, why I am talking so much about this press conference is that this press conference requires lots and lots of care on the part of a public relations person to think, to decide whether the subject matter really wants to be done as a urgent matter, or it can wait, we can do it later, or we can send a press release or something. Because the subject matter is the hero of this press conference. If you do not have subject matter which is important enough, then this press conference becomes a flop press conference, and the press people find that you are not a competent person, you do not realize what is their importance, what is the importance of the matter, and what is what. Now we come down to this sort of press conference. Generally, press people themselves are so interested that they all come, or they send some. You don't have to go on pursuing them. Now we come down to the major press conference, which is the third type of press conference, which we call regular press conference or planned press conference. Now, what is this planned press conference or regular press conference? Now, planned press conference is a press conference where we have everything into our own control. A PR person has total control of the situation, the press conference, the press people, and he or she can decide when to call. So, the matter can be the company's performance report, maybe your organization's some diversification or a new venture or something that you want to say in the regular manner. For this, the timing is very important. Your chairman or your top man wants you to, as a PR, call a press conference. You have to decide the time and the date. The time and the date has to be according to the days when you check up that there is no other important event going in the town. If there is something other going in the town and you call your press conference on that day, then the media gets divided. Most of the media goes to that particular event, and you will find that very few people come for your own press conference, and it will be such a disappointment, which is not very good for the PR people. So decide, by and large, see that you know that there is nothing falling on that date. Make sure that there is not a holiday next day, because if there is a holiday, if you call a press conference on a Saturday and Sunday being a holiday, you will not find a very good coverage in the papers, because most of the news people will not be able to file a proper report. So make sure it is somewhere in the midweek or somewhere on the day when you have to find that it doesn't clash with anything important happening in town. Then we come down to time. Time is very important. The press conference should be either kept in the morning hours, say 11:30, and followed by a lunch, so that the press people can stay with you. The media people can spend time in listening to whatever you have to say, attending to the whole this, have their lunch and then disperse, and enough time in the afternoon to go and file their stories. I personally feel, though lots of people disagree on this, that press conferences should be over dinner. I personally would not advise a PR person to hold a press conference over dinner, because if it is over dinner and the dinner goes on, and you know they do go on, and the press people do not find time to go back to their offices to file the report. And if they do not file the report, then the next day, and some one person files the report, then the story becomes stale and the other people will not carry the story. So your press conference becomes a flop despite your efforts. So in the evening, the right time would be maybe 3 o'clock, maximum 4 o'clock, so that you finish it by 5 o'clock over a cup of tea, and then let the press people find time to go back to their office and listen to whatever or recollect everything that you have told them and file a report and give you a good coverage. Now, in this context, we are going to go a little further, and I feel that we will continue on this being a long process, and I would like you to go into details as to what all a PR person is required to do to call a regular press conference. And I will continue on this and I will tell you more about it. Well, for the time being, I've told you about two things. One is that you have to decide on day and time of the press conference, keeping in mind the things that I have told you. And we can work out about it, and once we've decided the time and the date, the things can move to the next step. Well, we were at the press conference and I was telling you about time and date. Once we've decided on time and date, then we prepare the list of the press people we need to invite. Generally, if the press conference is of a particular type of nature, economic, social, political, general, accordingly pick and choose the press people to be invited. Like if it is purely an economic nature press conference, we try to focus our invitations to economic press, economic media, whether it is from, because nowadays every paper, every news channel has specialization and they have people who specialize in various things. So we can have a particular type of list drawn in which we know If the conference is of course of general nature, then we can have all types of press people, all types of media people invited into it. Once we prepared the invitation list, in this sort of press conference, we issue proper invitations to the press people. We write letters to them or we send an invitation card inviting them for the press conference, giving the subject matter and the person who is going to address the press conference. Now, sending invitations after drawing out the list is also a very specialized thing. Nowadays, of course, we use emails. Otherwise, for the proper press conference, we send out written invitations. One thing very important for all PR people to know, all invitations should be addressed to news editor. They should not be addressed to chairman or to director of the newspaper or maybe somebody that you know in the newspaper, but only to the news editor. All news editors will mark that paper to the concerned journalist and request him to go and attend the press conference and report back. So all invitations need to be addressed to the news editor of a newspaper, news channel, or to any other medium that you are trying to work out. Now, once you have got your invitations ready, please ensure that invitations are sent at least a week earlier for a planned press conference. If not a week, at least 4 days, so that your press conference is scheduled for attending by a particular press people. Like a particular reporter is assigned the job and knows that on such and such day he is covering this and this. Then, apart from sending it earlier, once you send, this is the general thing, we prepare after all, this is pre what you call press conference things that we are doing. Now we come down to the academic part of the press conference. Now what do we give to the press people when they come? Apart from gifts and all, that's a different story. What is the academic thing that we need to prepare? We need to prepare a press kit. What is a press kit? Press kit is a folder or a bag, or depends on your budget, how much you can spend. The bag can be of any time, or it could just be a file folder in which we put lots of things. Now what are the things that we put? Number one, we put a scribbling pad, a ordinary pad on which they can write something if they want to write. Then we put a pen. These are very minor things, and I think you must be wondering that why am I telling you? Because sometimes as when we go and work as PRs, we forget these very minor things, and PR is not supposed to overlook anything of this type at all. And then in this we keep a write-up about the company, a backgrounder about the company, what is our company, how did it start, what happened, or if we are doing a press conference for a political party or for a particular person, a backgrounder about him or about the party or about the base. That is, we prepare a base write-up. Then if you have any printed material, a brochure, a booklet, or a pamphlet about your company, you can put that also in this press kit. Apart from this, you prepare a particular press backgrounder. What is this press backgrounder? The press backgrounder contains the subject matter on which the press conference is being called. Suppose you're calling the press conference on a new machine being put in in your factory. Then you have to write about the new machine, its functions, why it is being put, what is it going to do, how it's going to be beneficial to the company, etc. That means a write-up on the current press conference. So if I was to remind you, the press kit is a file folder in which we keep for the press material that we want to give them. And first of all in this we keep a scribbling pad, a pen, to write, and then a backgrounder of the company. Then we give brochures, booklets, or whatever written material or printed material we have, we put into it. And then we prepare a note, which is the note on the current issue for which you have called the press conference. Now, this note also goes in the press kit. Now, before putting all these things in the press kit, it is very necessary that you discuss these papers that you are putting in the press kit with the top person of your company, or with the director or the person who is calling the press conference. The reason is that PR has to be doubly sure that nothing objectionable goes to the press through the press kit. So press kit has to be something which requires to be prepared with great care. In addition to whatever we have told you to put in the press kit, there are things like if you want to give them a small gift, if you have a company's calendar, a diary, or you want to give a gift to the press people, you put it in the press kit only. So a proper press kit is prepared and is kept for the press people. Generally, the number of press kits have to be not only the number of the invitations you have sent, it can be another 10 extra from the invitation you have sent, because generally the press person brings along with him somebody, and it is very embarrassing that you run short of the press kits at that time. So as a good PR, prepare extra press kits and keep them with you. So this is the academic part that you have kept. Then it is necessary that once you have done your academic part, see the arrangement part. The place for press conference, a planned press conference, should be a centralized venue. When we say centralized venue, you can't keep it outside Delhi 20 kilometers, 30 kilometers. Because if you do that, then senior press people generally do not come. Why they don't come? Because coming, going, being there means their whole day gone, and they might have to attend to other things also. So if you have a centralized venue, maybe somewhere which is common to everybody, or where you don't have to go about, if you have an urgent call, you can go back to your office or something like that. So it should be a centralized venue, and the venue should be so prepared that it should be comfortable. Not only comfortable, it should have proper mic system where a person addressing and the person listening should be audible to each other without any problems at all. If you want to have a what you call film show done on that time, a corporate film to be shown, or if you want to show something, you can do that also, because this is a regular press conference and you want to give as much information as possible to the press people. In addition, if you want to hold a exhibition of your product at that time, you can do that also, so that press people, as they start coming, they can go through the what you call the press displays, and they can see the display of your product also. So this is one press conference in which you can do a lot to project as much as possible, give as much information as possible about your organization. We take advantage of the press invited or giving them as much as possible, not only that they give the news only, so that they can use it later on when they want to use it, when they have nothing much to put in the paper. They might put an article about you, they might put a write-up about you, because you have given them a full press kit, you've shown them so much, and they have so much knowledge that when they have nothing much to project in the newspaper, they write about you. So this press conference, you can provide them everything. Now, friends, one thing which I personally, from my experience and from my whatever you call interaction with the press people, I feel that there should not be too many people on the dais. If a person is addressing a press conference, to support him, you can't have 20 people around him holding files and papers, or there should be very limited people on the dais. Because if a person is having too many people with too many papers and files and information in their hand holding. Then generally what happens when a press person asks a question, the people behind put a paper before you or show you a file or you look behind. This shows that you are not, the person who is addressing your chairman is not very well versed in the subject on which the conference has been called. So in order to avoid this sort of impression, it is very necessary that the dais should be there with very limited people. It is for you as a PR, you are the controller of the press conference, to see that press conference does not become one-sided. When we say one-sided means that sometimes it so happens that the same person keeps asking. He doesn't sit down, he keeps asking one after the other, supplementary questions. And the whole press conference become one-sided. So it is as a PR for you to go in between, you have to jump in between, very politely say, sir, can we give a chance to someone else? We can have a meeting of yours, exclusive meeting to discuss these things. Very politely you can tell that person and shift the press conference to another person. Now this is called the tact the PR person should develop and should have. So a PR person has to be present on the dais with the top man to ensure that the press conference does not take any odd shape or does not become one-sided. It's a balanced press conference and questions come from all sides of people. Another thing very important, sometimes some very uncomfortable situation develops in the press conference. When I say uncomfortable, I mean that certain things come which can be very negative to your company's image. Like somebody brings out an odd story or a past history which is not required at that press conference, but the person has brought it. What can you do? Now, and that goes on and on from one person to the other. Now, in such a condition, when you see that the press conference is going out of control, as a good PR, what can you do? You try to control it, but then you are finding that your bosses are embarrassed, things are going out of control. The best thing is to break the press conference by announcing lunch. That is why we say that generally the best time to call the press conference is 11:30 or 12 o'clock, so that it is under your control. You can go on delaying the lunch if the press conference is going on very smoothly, but you can cut short by announcing the lunch, and that starts breaking the press conference and things become easier without embarrassing anybody. Now, in addition to whatever I am talking to you about press conference and whatever it is, generally another thing which is practical part, I am not talking on the bookish knowledge, these things are not given in the books. Generally these press conferences are explained very theoretically in the books, but I am talking on the practical grounds at the moment. So generally the buffet lunches are organized. Why the buffet lunches? Because it gives a chance to the press people to move from person to person and person to move to the press people and discuss with them and give them, clarify doubts with them, talk to them, develop relations with them, maintain some sort of contact with them. And if you make them a sitting press conference, then everybody sits on one round, and sitting lunch is always a very formal lunch. So generally people organize buffets. And one more thing, the last thing about planned press conferences, that if you want to give a gift to the press people after the press conference is over, do not give a very big gift. Generally people give big boxes, big things, which is not right. The reason is, number one, it embarrasses. Not only embarrasses, the press people cannot, even if they want, they cannot carry it back with them. They can't carry it back. So generally it is desired that something small, something nice, something useful should be given to them in their press kit only. That is desirable. Now, if you want the press conference to go as we go in the modern time on the social media or on the video press conferencing, we can do that also. Now, in the regular press conference, we may not be able to, if we want, we can connect it to video press conference, we can connect it to social media also. But in addition to these three press conferences, the new press conference that we are seeing is called video press conferences. Now we have television, we have video going on, there can be three people on the line, the person can talk, person can answer questions, you can ask questions on video. You must have seen these video conferences on television happening very often. Apart from that, even in organizations happening very often, where a person is sitting in a particular hall and is on the video, and there are cameras fixed in different halls, and over a cup of tea you can ask questions. You are sitting in distant places, and from distances also you can ask questions, and your question will be answered. So the time with media is moving very, very fast. And you will realize that with the modern technical approaches coming in, media is now becoming very, very alive. And for that, the race is between the PR and the media. The PR person must keep going as fast as possible behind the media, and should know, have control on the latest developments. You can't have a person to be a good public relations person if he or she does not know what is the new development coming into the media world. Now, as I was talking to you about press conferences, and I discussed with you the corridor press conference, the short notice or emergency press conference, and the regular press conference, that is, so out of the three, one press conference is totally under our control, and that is called the normal press conference. Now, I would like to tell you something more into this. We were talking about media relations. Now, media is something which is, I told you, is going out too fast, and today's media is social media. Like you know, we have WhatsApp, we have internet, we have what you call Twitters, we have got everything on social media. Messages can be given, anybody can give any message, rotate anything, you can contact the people. But in a country like ours, where we have multiple type of public, where our public is so spread, they are illiterates, they are semi-literates, they are technical, non-technical. Apart from that, many of them have devices, many of them do not still have any device, not even a telephone. Now, in a country like this, the importance of media relations still lies with the ancient media, that is press, with what you call television, apart from modern cyber and social media. So please remember, as a public relations officer, your job is not only to go on leaving the media behind. Okay, fine, now I don't have to write press releases, I don't have to do the press backgrounders, I don't have to go and interact with the people directly, I don't have to visit people, I don't have to specialize. No, a public relations person is a hard taskmaster. He is to work 24 hours. He has to keep in touch with the media all the time. So remember one thing, media is one thing which is changing its face day by day. And with the changing face of media, the change of public relations activity is also changing very fast. So PR cannot live without media, because the entire projection, the entire interaction with the public is through the media. And that is the reason that media people and PR must be all the time in touch with each other and should keep going face to face with each other. So for public relations, media becomes absolutely essential. No person can join PR or work as a professional PR unless you have your interaction with the media world, and media not only of one type but all types of media world. And you should know what is happening in media, what are the stories going, what is the gossip going, what is the new thought going about media. And it is this knowledge that keeps you update in projecting what your company needs to project as their own image, as their own reputation amongst the public. So please remember, press relations or media relations form a very important part of public relations. Last time when we talked about corporate relations, corporate images are built through media, and media can be of any type. We have discussed several types here. There are many more. There is no end to media discussions. So please ensure that a PR person, for image selling, for building a corporate position, it is necessary that he or she should have excellent relations with the press people.
Definitely, as what explained by ma'am in detail, are the components which are required to be taken care if you are into media relations and if you are into building the image of the company. Ma'am, we have discussed very important elements over here. Now, with the passage of time, as you two have already explained that the things are changing with the passage of time, and if we talk about the technology as a whole, now we have seen that we have a new media, and with the help of new media now things are easier, we can communicate very easily,
much easier.
So do you think that this media relations are easy to maintain with the help of this new media, like social networking sites available over here?
Well, if you ask me, there is something called personal touch, which is very important in human relations. Unfortunately, with new media coming in and with a lot of technology coming in and our dependence on computer world, the personal touch is reducing day by day. You may know a person on media very well, you may be chatting with that person, but you have never seen his face, you have never interacted, have never met him, you can't socialize with that person. So new media must keep in touch with the older media, that is socializing, and human relations has to be there in public relations. A PR person cannot just totally be a technocrat and work with new media. I don't agree with it.
The new media can be used as a tool for communication, but we can't say that we should completely rely on the new media.
Because unless you have human relations, after all, human beings have certain things called sentiments, certain things called personal touches, their expressions, their facial the touches which are very important. I personally feel that all these things, the new media is rolling into it. We are not finding it there. Like, see, if we have a friend in the media world, an editor, and I've known him and I keep meeting him in social functions and I keep calling on him and we sit together for a cup of coffee, discuss not only official but not unofficial thing. Now, how do we do that on telephone? How do we do that on computer? On new media, I can only, how are you? I'm good, well done, you are nice, I'm nice. This loses the personal touch. So personal friendships take you a big way in media world, which I find is missing. That gatherings, the talks, the interactions, listening to different type of opinions. Well, I find I read a lot of them on new media, but I find they are little, I would love to meet the person who's giving, what sort of personality that person is, how does he look like, what is his interaction if I was to sit face to face with him. So I personally feel maybe I belong to an older school and I'm getting into the new school, all right, but still I prefer that I would like to meet certain type of people myself.
Definitely. Dear friends, today we have learned a lot from Mrs. Nirmal Bhatnagar on media relationships, and particularly we talked on how media relationship is an important component with the help of which PR person helps the company in growing up. Dear friends, we believe that the lecture might have appeared very, very beneficial to you and interesting too. So do write to us at info.cc@nic.in if you have any queries or if you want to give a feedback for this particular lecture. We would be waiting for your shares, your feedback. We would be meeting again soon and would be discussing on another component of PR very soon. Till then, take care. Goodbye. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you once again.